Welcome back. This is the final one that we missed in terms of the bonding events on the Merkabah, and it's Rixia. What are you doing out here, Rixia? Oh, Lloyd. I just finished preparing for tomorrow and came out here to clear my mind a little. Tomorrow is the day. We'll finally be infiltrating our way back into Crossbell City. All things considered, it hasn't been that long since I was there last, so why am I becoming nostalgic for it? I know what you mean. Now that the Ions have refocused their attention on defending the city now that the barrier is down. And I help but wonder how everyone at Arkansas is holding up. I imagine they're still practicing, even now. The show must go on, as they say. No matter the circumstances, the troop is always perfecting its craft and looking ahead, not back. That's Ilia's will, the way of Arkansas. I suppose you're right. If you don't mind me asking, what comes next for you after we've liberated Crossbell City and solved this incident? I intend to see Heiyue again and continue dancing with Arkansas as I have been, to be perfectly honest. That desire still burns inside, even though I don't fully understand how or why. Honestly, I don't know what I'm going to say to Heiyue and Sonny the next time I see them. The words escape me. Do they? I understand where you're coming from, but no doubt that Heiyue and everyone at Arkansas will always accept you. My advice would be to not think too hard about it. Be yourself, Rixia. Do that and I'm sure everything will be alright. Be myself. Say, Lloyd, it's not too much trouble. Could I ask for more of your time later? Huh? I've been too on edge lately. I'd appreciate the opportunity to speak with you just before tomorrow's operation. Just for a little while. When you're done making preparations, would you please come back here to speak with me a little bit more? Yes? Yeah, if you wouldn't mind. I would love you too. I'm going to stay here for a while and enjoy the breeze. There's no rush. Take as much time as you need to prepare for tomorrow, Lloyd. I'll head to the deck once I'm done making my final preparations in the nap room. Lloyd then made his final preparations for tomorrow and went outside to the deck. The moon is beautiful tonight, isn't it?
Lloyd-san.
It's just as beautiful as the last time we spoke like this. It was strangely fitting when I'm with the famous Moon Princess.
月は光にして影。多分それは私という存在が月に似ているからだと思います。本来は日の当たる場所に出てくるはずのなかった存在。
But that change when you came to Crossbell. You've stepped out of the shadows and have grasped that light. Isn't that right? Yes. It's not something I can deny any longer. Deep down I know I can't change my past either. There will always be a dark truth underneath the surface. The truth known as Yin. It is the legacy that I inherited from my father. You've alluded to that before. If it's alright, would you mind telling me the full story this time? I want to know who you were before you came to Crossbell. I want to know the Rixia Mao that I haven't until now. Okay. It's funny, Lloyd. For the longest time, I've had the feeling that you'd be the one I finally told all of this to. My earliest memories of life were of my father and me. I have no memories of my mother. I believe he took me from her at a young age so that I could be groomed to inherit the legacy of Yin. Perhaps that sounds crazy. But to me it was normal. I was completely indifferent to it. Intense training, deadly weapons, and talisman mastery were just a part of my daily life growing up. I didn't attend Sunday school between the various places we travelled to. It allowed me to develop the skills to connect and interact with others. Beyond that, life was training. Father was neither strict nor kind, cold nor loving. He was there to teach and my responsibility was to learn. There wasn't time for anything else. Simply too much ground to cover if I were to become the next Yin. And to become Yin, those generations of teachings had to be ingrained in me. Not just the skills, but the memories too. How to prepare for each situation and how to kill each target. For Yin's storied history to continue, for the legend to live on, the successor has to inherit everything from their predecessor. Once I did that, once I had inherited it all, I myself would be Yin. Essentially, anyway. I say that, but inheritance cannot happen while the previous Yin is still alive. There can only be one Yin. That fact does not change. So I waited. There were many quiet days where I waited for Father to return home from his duties. When he finally did, he'd outlined those missions in fine detail to further prepare me when I would succeed him as Yin. Eventually I was allowed to live a normal life, but behind it, carrying the legacy was still my entire world. That is, until Father was diagnosed with a terminal illness. That world was shattered. Father's strength was incredible, even compared to the generations of Yin before him. Disease, however, was a foe that he could not defeat. Chose not to resist it, even opted against a surgery that would have prolonged his life. And then one day, he called me to his side. He ordered me to kill him and officially inherit the role of Yin. Oh my. Did you? But I couldn't. Never once before had I disobeyed Father, but that was an order I could not abide by. For the first time in my life, I was scared. Couldn't help but wonder if the Yin he had raised and molded had turned out to be a failure in his eyes. Did I leave him disappointed on his deathbed? I was in sheer agony at the thought, but then Father gave me a wry smile and said to me, "That is who you are. It's up to you to decide the Yin you will be." 1 month later, he was gone. And with that, I was Yin. I inherited not only the name, but Father's connections and resources. I used Ningong and an ebony shawl to hide my figure. Assume I said that right? Probably not. My skills were still no match for his, but I couldn't hesitate to resume his work immediately. It is up to you to decide the Yin you will be. Couldn't parse what he truly meant by that. Instead, I put my head down and continued forward, letting come whatever may. After 2 years, I accepted a long-term contract with Heiyue. I was beckoned to Crossbell, a trade city at the western border of Calvard, such that Heiyue could snatch away supremacy from the local mafia. Upon arriving, I was to get the lay of the land, and scouting the entire city. Eventually I found myself at a certain theatre in the entertainment district. By pure coincidence, there was a practice session being held for the public that day. The rest, as you know, was history. So that's when it happened. That was the day that you fell into Ilia's clutches. Back then, I tried to come up with any excuse I could to refuse her offer to join the troupe. But as you can imagine, Ilia just wouldn't take no for an answer. So I eventually surrendered, became the newest member of our conceal. I was being confident in my fitness and ability to conceal my identity. I convinced myself it would be a smart cover while in Crossbell. However, the training was much more difficult than I had envisioned. I found it rather difficult to be both Yin and Rixia. Thank you, Rixia. I'm happy you could tell me this. Not at all. Don't think it's a particularly interesting story, so I hope it wasn't too dull for you. That's a very interesting story. What are you on about? Still, the path that I've inherited from Father and my ancestors, even with the light of our conceal in my life, it's a path I cannot ever truly stray from, not entirely. I see. It's up to you to decide the Yin you will be. And Yin inherits everything, right? If that's the case, and you've already found and accepted our conceal as a light in your life, doesn't that mean Yin has inherited that light as well? Well, maybe this is just the Crossbellan in me speaking, but I know for a fact that things change. Everything about life and the way we live it evolves. More specifically, it has to change. Just as people inherit the past as they move forward, so too is the future constantly being shaped into something new. And if your father was thinking the same thing as he spoke those words to you? It is true that as a member of the police force, I cannot condone anything that could be considered criminal. But I know you, Rixia, and you should heed those words and strive to be your own Yin, the one you want to be and think is right. Then again, maybe doing so would be completely severing the legacy of Yin. But if that were to happen, and you still fulfilled those words, perhaps your father wouldn't mind. I think he'd look down at you from above with the same wry smile and say, "That is who you are." Oh. You have a good father, Rixia. Perhaps your life was far different than most. In your words and memories of him, I could feel it. He truly did love you. That's what I believe. Father. Why? Even the day he died, I didn't shed a single tear like this. You've grown, Rixia. From the day you joined Illy and the others. I don't know where the path that lies ahead of you leads, but I know you're not walking it alone. So if you'd let me, I'd like to watch over you as you take it, just like your father will be watching. I want to be there to see the person you become now that you've found your light, Rixia. Lloyd. Aww. Just how you could see her breathing like she's really, really brought to tears. I just cut off the audio there, that's very strange. Cool. So the plan is very much like, we will show now like Fran's and Ellie's as well as separate videos after this. Like going forward across this week, you know, how it's been so far. But for me, I'm going to go back to like videos you've seen previously, which is me doing the rounds and stuff, so, you know. Now that's Mal like it.